For some, the PlayStation 5 remains a wonderful system since the day they bought it. For others, it's a beautifully designed desk ornament destroyed due to bugs and glitches. And for others like myself, it remains nothing more than a dream. You can't find it anywhere because of scalpers. PS5 controllers are starting to malfunction, and by that I mean specifically the adaptive triggers are starting to break. One report revealed that while playing Spider-Man Miles Morales, they felt the R2 trigger snap, becoming loose and unresponsive. Other users share a similar experience, with some reports claiming that the R2 trigger is becoming less sensitive over time. The internet is filled with homemade fixes to the problem, which suggests that more players are encountering this issue. This article actually later goes on to say that it's actually unknown how many people are actually suffering from this issue, but there is a reported 1,000 people who have been saying that this is an issue that's been happening with the PlayStation 5. The controller adaptive triggers are starting to break for them. I can say that I'm not too shocked by this problem. It was definitely speculation, but when the PlayStation 5 first came out and then videos started to come out of people using the adaptive triggers, to me it looked like whatever was going on inside of the controller, you were fighting it. Like as you push down, the trigger would push up. So whatever components are inside of that controller are definitely working against you pushing it down and pushing it down. And I was very curious as to how long that would last. Later on, I saw a video much like this here, and it shows the inside. It shows how the adaptive trigger actually works. And to me, yeah, I think my concerns were actually pretty valid. When you're fighting against this little motor here, to me it looks like a recipe to lead to those teeth being broken or slipping over time, which is why I think certain people are saying that they're having an issue where it's becoming less responsive. It's probably just starting to slip, or the teeth are probably starting to wear, and it just looks like that's something that's gonna happen over time. People are comparing this problem to the Nintendo Switch Joy-Con drift issue, and if you were following Nintendo back then with that problem, Nintendo was hit with several class action lawsuits at that time. Though honestly, I think the class action lawsuits was a result of Nintendo really not handling the situation well. If you remember, Nintendo, they weren't really responding that well to the community complaining about the Nintendo Switch Joy-Con problem. They were basically just ignoring it and not really fixing the problem or taking people's Nintendo Switches in to fix them at that time. They were basically forced into doing something about it due to the class action lawsuits. And the issue got worse for people who have the Nintendo Switch Lite. Again, I'm not certain as to how many people suffered the Joy-Con drift with the Nintendo Switch Lite, but I do know for those that did happen to get Joy-Con drift with the Nintendo Switch Lite, it's worse than the regular Nintendo Switch, because the regular Nintendo Switch, you can just take the controllers off. With the Switch Lite, the controllers are inside the console, so there's nothing you can do. So once you get drift on the Nintendo Switch Lite, it's just a wrap on that. So just like the regular Nintendo Switch, with the PlayStation 5 controller, you can always just go get a new controller, but I get it. Like, first off, we're in the middle of a pandemic, you need to save your money. And second, yeah, the controller, they cost a lot. It's like $70. So I get it. You don't want your controller to be another expense where you're just replacing it every 6 months or so. I do have to say, I don't think it's going to reach that point. I do think Sony's going to get ahead of it before it ever reaches that point of having to get to a class action lawsuit. There's not really much for me to say on this problem. Hopefully, Sony comes out and starts rolling out new models or updated versions of the PlayStation 5 controller that doesn't have this issue anymore. They tweak things here and there. In the meantime, guys, just to extend the life of your PlayStation 5 controller, again, I'm not one with a PlayStation 5, so I'm not really sure, but I think you can go into the settings of the PlayStation 5 and shut off the adaptive feedback option, and that really does suck. I'm sorry. I know that was part of the main reason you got the PlayStation 5, but I think just to add longevity to your PlayStation 5 controller, so you're not, just to be safe and you're not spending $70 every 6 months or however long it took for some of these people to run into this issue, just shut it down or try not to use it as much. I do want to bring up that I think out of those 1,000 people, I think those 1,000 people that have reported the issue of having this issue with the PlayStation 5 controller adaptive trigger, I feel as though they're going to be the more hardcore players, and for more casual players, they're less likely to run into this problem, or at least not yet. Unfortunately, just looking at the components and how the adaptive trigger is made and how it operates and how you're basically fighting this motor and you're wearing down, I think you're just wearing down the teeth over time. I feel as though it's inevitable. It's going to be an issue that you face at some point or another, and you're going to have to swap out that PlayStation 5 controller at some point. Like I said earlier, hopefully Sony comes up with some other design or some tweak, and they start rolling that out soon, and people start getting their hands on those. But, you know, until then, like I said, shut that setting off if possible. I love you all, and I'll see you in the next one.